Hi, I'm Alan Tetreault with Global Sugar Art, and today we're going to continue a series that we started with the last video. On my last video, we took a two-layer cake and we sliced it and we filled it with a fruit filling and a flavored buttercream filling. And this time I'm going to show you how I prefer to ice a cake. I think this is an easy way, and it works well because it doesn't create a lot of crumbs in the icing. So my cake is all ready to go. What I'm going to be working with today is an Tetreault. This is actually a bench scraper. We're going to use this to smooth the side of the cake. This is an Tetreault cake comb. There are 3 different sides to the comb, so you get 3 different effects. And then this is a series of combs that PME makes, and just like the triangle, you can get different effects depending on which comb you use. Whoops. I like throwing things off like that. This is a Wilton tip. This is what they call a quick icer. This is tip 789. It's a very large tip, and because of that, you'll need a very large disposable bag, or if you're using a canvas or a cloth bag, you'll probably have to get at least an 18-inch bag so that you can cut off enough for this to fit in. So I'm going to begin by getting this tip ready. Drop that right in, and I just want the end to show, just the very end to come out. And I'm going to put some icing in that. And we're using CK's Buttercream today, which is really delicious, and it works well. Okay. I'm going to be doing all the sides of the cake with this. I think that might be enough. Okay, we got that ready to go. So the first thing I'm going to do is the top of the cake. Make sure there's no crumbs. If you're making your own icing, it'll probably be just coming off the mixer, so it should be nice and creamy and ready to go. If you're using a purchased buttercream like the CK Buttercream, you'll want to stir that up first to get it nice and creamy and softened. I'm going to put a mound of icing right on the top in the center of the cake, and I'm going to work from the center out. The trick to keeping crumbs out of your buttercream is to make sure your spatula never touches the cake. It only touches the icing. So if you're starting in the center and you're pushing the icing out, my spatula is not touching the actual cake. It's only touching the icing that I've put on the top. And I'm going to go right to the edge. There. Once I've got the edge done, I'm not going to worry about leveling that yet. I just wanted to get it over the top edge. Now I'm going to take the quick icer in this bag, and I'm going to start right down at the bottom. You'll notice I have the cake on a turntable, which is helpful. And I'm just going to squeeze that icing out, and you'll see how it goes all the way around the cake. And now I'm going to come up and I'm going to do the second part. And just enough. There, I've iced the cake. Now I just have to smooth it. There's really no quicker way to ice a cake successfully without having any crumbs be a problem in your icing than with the quick icer from Wilton. They work very, very well. From here, I'm just going to bring the top in and sort of level that off. And then I'm going to work on the sides of the cake. Now, to get a real professional finish on a cake, you want it to be like smooth as glass. The more fat, the more shortening, the more butter that you have in your buttercream, the easier that is to do. So if you're using an icing that doesn't have a lot of shortening in it, it'll be a little harder to get a really, really smooth finish. But this is just a regular buttercream, and I've got a bowl of water that I just brought to a boil. If you have a little hot plate or something that you can keep your water on to keep it hot, and if you're doing a lot of cakes, that's very helpful. I'm just going to dip this into the water. It's going to heat that up. Basically what this is doing is it's melting the fat content of the buttercream. So the butter or the shortening or whatever you're using will just slightly be melted. And I'm going to hold this. I'm going to put this flat on my board, and that's going to give me a perfectly vertical surface. I'm just going to take off the excess, put it back in the hot water. Just do one section at a time. Don't try to do the whole cake in one turn, because the bench scraper doesn't stay hot enough to really go all around. And you're also picking up that excess icing, and you want to get rid of that before you continue. There. So that was, you can see how easily that's done with a stainless steel or some sort of a metal scraper and hot water. This is the area where I came together at the end where the two met, and I can just very easily smooth that up. I'm going to use a metal spatula also in the hot water. And the same thing, I'm going to bring the icing from the outside into the center. And I'm just going to get rid of any excess icing. Heat that up and bring it back in. I don't worry very much about the very edge of the cake because I'm going to be piping a border on that. So it's really the center at the top that I'm trying to get nice and smooth. Make sure that every time you put your knife in the water that it's coming out clean. It's helpful if you have a paper towel or a cloth just to wipe that and keep it nice and clean. And there. Almost done here. And that's good enough. So I've got the sides all done and I've got the top smoothed off. Now I'm ready to ice it with buttercream ice, or not ice it, decorate it with buttercream. But I wanted to show you how to use a cake comb. I'm going to use the metal cake combs. The plastic ones work very well, and you can also heat them up in the hot water. I prefer the metal ones because I can get them a little hotter and they work really well on the sides. So I'm going to use, well, I'll probably use the smallest tooth side, and I'm just going to heat that up a second. I'm going to hold it to the side of the cake, and I'm just going to spin the cake. I'm really not taking a lot of icing off. I'm just putting a little design in the side of the cake. If you're working with like a marshmallow icing or a boiled icing, you can probably do this all in one turn. But with the buttercream, you'll want to do it in a couple pieces, a couple sections. Okay, so I've created a little design on here with the cake comb. Now this cake is ready to go. In the next tutorial, I'll actually decorate this by piping some buttercream decorations on it and finishing it with flowers. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Today we've gone over the cake comb, how to ice a cake, and how to use the hot water to get a nice smooth finish, and how to use the Tetreault bench scraper. Make sure if you're looking for a bench scraper to do this, that it's perfectly flat across the bottom, because a lot of the bench scrapers have a larger handle than they do the cutting part, and you wouldn't be able to lie it flat on the board and get a perfectly vertical side. So this is a very important part of this particular bench scraper that works really well in cake decorating. I hope you've enjoyed this video. You can find all the supplies at globalsugarart.com, and thanks for watching.